Alright, unfortunately, this is going to be one of those serious videos where I don't joke around much or mention pants. No, that doesn't count. So yes, while Mama did just happen, and there's a lot to talk about for that, the day before was like an overdose of things that we need to address. And yes, transparently, that was an EXO pun because Kai revealed something that maybe now more than ever is starting to be voluntarily imparted to fans by K-pop artists. Kai revealed, and he didn't say who exactly, but he opened up about one member of EXO who is struggling mentally because of malicious comments. And it's crazy to me that after what has happened in the last year, in the last few years in the K-pop industry, that there are still people out there who feel the need, who for some stupid reason have this urge to spew out hate in order to intentionally hurt someone. To the point where idols are now crying out for help publicly because there may not be the proper mental health support they need available to them. Now, that's not to say all mental health issues can be traced back to malicious comments. Just a few days ago, Pristin member Sion posted on Instagram talking about how she was struggling to live, describing it as though her lungs are being squeezed as she's gasping for air. It was basically a message to herself, but seemed like a cry for help at the same time. I bring this up because in her case, it's speculated that her mental state isn't due to continuous fan backlash, rather her feeling lost after devoting half of her life into something, just for it to be taken away in a blink of an eye. And just an update on this, Kyla has come out and said that Xion is okay, so at least we've heard something positive from a very close source. Again, all that to say that malicious comments may not always be the primary factor, but what we're seeing is that it has slowly become maybe the most widespread thing at fault. And you can add another tick in that box because Kang Daniel dropped a bomb on everyone yesterday. Similar to Hyuna, but she's been dealing with her struggles for 2 or 3 years and is now getting treatment every 2 weeks. Daniel's situation seems like he's still in that phase, and Hyuna mentioned something similar, where he's still climbing up that mountain and the end looks nowhere near in sight. Kang Daniel went on his fan cafe and uploaded multiple posts pouring out his heart about struggling with false rumors and nasty comments. He talks about things like people using pictures out of context to ridicule him, how not only his fans but his family are being dragged down, how his music and performances, his life's work being viewed and treated like trash. Every day, he's afraid to wake up to headlines dragging his name through the mud. And through his posts, it's heartbreaking to read things like, "It's too much," "The fact that I am me is too difficult," and "Someone save me." Shortly after all of these posts dropped on us, it was reported and later confirmed by Daniel's company that he was indeed diagnosed with depression and panic disorder earlier this year. The statement goes on in depth about his symptoms, examinations, and ends by notifying people that he will be going on hiatus to prevent his health from further deteriorating. If you think about it, it's known that it's human nature to want to be accepted by others. That's why public speech ranks so high on the list of things we fear. We're afraid that opening our mouths will alienate us from those around us. Back in the day when it was necessary for your survival to stick with your tribe, being outcasted meant death. Now, bring that innate fear into a modern context and having hundreds, if not thousands of people degrade you, turn their backs on you, that feeling of a society rejecting you. What does that do to our mentality? How that can break the human mind? I hope he gets the help he needs for as long as he needs. And you would think that would be the only thing people were talking about yesterday. But later that day or night, hashtag apologize to Seungri started trending. But to preface, for those who don't know, earlier this year, Seungri was involved in the huge scandal that broke out with him being reported to be involved in soliciting prostitution, embezzlement, being part of a group chat that shared illegal footage. Well, recently the sentences for those guys have come to light along with things that were released and discussed in court. That's when people began pointing out that Seungri's involvement in the chat room when all that footage was being shared was an enraged response to it. His reaction to that video being shared in that group was probably because of the next thing that was revealed. Junyoung's group chats were divided into two, and Seungri was only in the group for the part that was divided for business, which is the only instance Seungri's name came up in the released court discussions we talked about earlier. His name was not attached to any other part of their hearing. Another thing that was brought to light was that the money that was being transferred regarding the prostitution was done without Seungri's knowledge or involvement. That's when things like SBS admitting that they deliberately falsified a chat came up, and that the reason Seungri's name was positioned as the face of this whole thing was because that would bring the most attention to it. That headlines claiming singer Lee were meant to make people assume and speculate one way when it was actually referring to Lee Jong-hyun instead. That's why Apologize to Seungri blew up last night, targeting the media, targeting those who ruined his career, and those who seemingly prematurely turned their backs. But a lot of the responses to this are other people saying, these are all things we've already known. His enraged reaction to the video just proves that he did see it and did not report it. Regardless of his reasons, he turned a blind eye and in turn, not stopping what happened to all those women. At this point, police haven't said anything and Seungri hasn't said anything. What do you say?